Hi, this is Richard Roop, and this is the Secrets to Free and Clear Deal Structuring, session number 3, where we cover the most frequently asked questions that we get about using the free and clear real estate investing model, where we go after free and clear properties, and we get sellers to take back long-term, no-interest, low-interest rate financing, funding the deals with none of our money, and making profits on average of $75,000 each. So, Courtney, I got Coach Courtney on the line with me. How you doing, Courtney?
I'm doing great today. I'm excited to see this because this is the question we're going to cover is one that we get a lot, and I think this will help a lot of our current JV partners process through in their heads exactly how they're going to make their profit. So I'm excited.
All right. Well, the question that we're going to cover today is, how do I know I'll make a profit if I sell the house early when I paid more for a house than it's currently worth, which we can do using what we call the ultimate strategy, because we're going to calculate the profit we make up front, the profit we make every month, and the profit on the back end. And by buying and holding a property that will hold its own for a number of years, we can make really nice profits on each deal, and the longer we go, the more we make. Now, in session number 2, I actually used an example deal, Courtney, to explain the last question we covered. So I'm going to just briefly go through. We're going to use the same deal example to answer this one, and I'll show you how to answer that question. So
okay.
What we did is we used a single-family home. It's free and clear. It's worth $250,000 fixed up, and it needs $10,000 in repairs. We're going to resell it with terms for $259,500. The market rent is about $1,300 a month. We're going to get a down payment from a tenant buyer or a buyer, or we're going to get extra income each month, or both. Our profit goals are at least $50,000 per deal, or at least $6,000 per year for as long as we can get the seller to take back a note. And we're going to collect $10,000 extra cash up front that's not needed for the deal, so that's cash now profits. And then we're also going to be reimbursed for any expenses out of pocket, like sending postcards out. We're going to assume there's no appreciation for 4 years, and then modest appreciation of 3% thereafter. We're going to give our buyer $200 a month rent credit for the first 12 months, and we expect a tenant buyer to either close or bail out on us every 36 months. So, now, on this offer, when we put all the numbers in there, the Ultimate Profit Generator software says that if we want to make our target profit, we can pay up to $274,000 with $15,000 down on a 9-year note. And in this case, we're going to need to borrow $44,000 on a private money first. These are loans that I do. I have done for you private money for my partners that we're working on deals on. And so we need a first mortgage of $44,000 to raise all the cash we need on the deal. That includes our buying costs, our holding costs, the down payment to the seller, and the money back to us, the $10,000 plus a reimbursement of our postcards. Now, if we offered that price to the seller, $274,000, our profit on a 9-year deal is calculated at $71,000. So that's the $10,000 up front, another $6,000 when you get it occupied, another $5,000 in cash flow, and then $50,000 on the back end. So it's a nice profit, and it's kind of locked in because we're either going to move the note or discount the note. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Because if we get a 9-year deal, Courtney, we're expecting to make $71,000 on the deal, having the seller finance it for 9 years. But what if you sold it early, right? How are you going to make that profit? Especially if you paid $274 for a house that's worth $250 fixed up, right?
Right. That's what concerns a lot of people. Yeah.
Okay. So what if I sell early? Well, you're going to pay the seller off at a discount. And we covered that in the last session, right?
Right.
Okay. So I'm going to show you that, and we're going to have a pre-agreed discount schedule. So the seller is going to either take a discounted payoff so that we collect our target profit, or they're going to move the note. That's their choice. Take a discount or move the note. You got to do one of those. So here's an example of discounting the seller. This is a report that comes right out of the Ultimate Profit Generator. When I put this deal in there, this is on the equity tab, and it shows how the loan pays down. Actually, this is the early payoff schedule for the seller. So it shows their balance, the number of months, the payment, the interest, the principal, and it shows how their note balance goes down over time. And they have a balloon payment of $190 at the end of 9 years. Well, if we paid them off early, they need to take the early payoff amount. So, for example, in 3 years, that would be $166,800 instead of $236,800. Okay.
Right. Okay.
And if they don't want to take the early payoff, then they're going to move their note. They're going to allow us to secure our promise to pay this $800 a month with other property. And so we have a very low interest rate on this deal, which I'll show you. I think it's a 0.88% interest, and we're going to put 0.88% interest on our other properties if we move the note. So after 3 years, the seller would take 166.8, or instead of the 236.8, or they can move that 236.8 onto our other properties. Now, if they went ahead and took the early discount, and I think, Courtney, would you agree that 3 years from now, if people are really needing some money because of economic times, they might just take that early payoff, right?
They might, yeah, absolutely.
And of course, you can do some advanced strategies of doing a partial, payoff and a partial movement. But if they wanted all their money, it'd be 166.8, and we would still make our $50,000 in profit. So here's another report that's in the Ultimate Profit Generator that shows our equity position. And so it says that we paid $274, but we're planning on reselling it for $259.5. We're planning on reselling it for less than we bought it for. Our first mortgage is about $44,000, and then the owner-seller carryback second is shown on the schedule here. As you can see, it goes down over time. And then the total amount owed. Now, the total amount owed goes down over time, and in the beginning, we're in a negative equity position, but over time, we get into a positive equity position. Now, the only reason we can buy properties and be in a negative equity position is because we do have that agreement that they'll discount the note or move their mortgage. So if their mortgage went for the full term of 108 months, 9 years, our equity position at the end of that is $66,000. So we're negative $45,000 to start, and then at the end of 3 years, we're still negative $21,000, but we did get a lot of principal reduction on that seller carryback note.
Right.
But we have the ability to move the note or discount it, and that protects not only your profit, but it also protects the seller. Because some people would say, hey, the seller's in a bad position because the property's over-leveraged. That's not true. They've already agreed to take a discount, which actually creates equity, gives us a positive equity position, or we've agreed to move their note to other property with equal or greater equity for the term of the 9 years. So they're actually protects us and it protects them. Now, what if they didn't take the discount? So here it shows their early payoff at 3 years is about $166,800, and if they didn't take that and we moved their note, we would move after paying off our private investor, we would move their note. We would walk away with $210,000, $210,700. If they moved their note, that's how much money we would get when we sold the property in 3 years. We would have that money in our pocket, and that's after paying off the private money first. And so that's so. Let's see. Actually, that's the total payoffs. What we actually walk away with is $199,437, or $200,000.
Okay. So the middle column there.
That's the check we get from the closing agent. We get
Gotcha.
$200,000. Now, we've already collected in cash now up front and cash flow. We've collected $17,400. And so I suggest, here's what I would suggest, Courtney. Go ahead, the balance, the cash later, as if they took an early payoff, you would have got your $50,000 profit. That means you would have got another $32,600. That would have been your cash later payoff if they took the early payoff.
Right.
And you add that up, and that's your $50,000. So you made $50,000 in 3 years. Okay.
Okay.
I suggest, since you in 3 years, if you sold the house, let's go ahead and put that $32,600 in our pocket. Let's go ahead and walk away with the $50,000 profit that we wanted on a 3-year deal. Move their note and see what happens.
Right.
So, our target profit on 3 years is $50,000. We've got the cash now and the cash flow, and then we're going to go ahead and take the early cash out. And so here's how it looks. Here's our target profit is $50,000 on 36 months, and we got that $199,000, right? We're going to keep the $32,600. And we have 72 months left on the seller's note. So when they move the note, you give them a new note for the amount that you owe them, on probably secured by several properties, and you still have 72 months left on the term with the seller. So we get to keep the cash that we would have got if we cashed out and reinvest the balance. And the balance in this case is $166,800. So we're going to reinvest the $166,800 for the rest of the 32 or the 72 months. Now, what happens now? Where can you get a good return on your money? You got $166,000 to invest, Courtney. Where can you get a good guaranteed rate of return on your money?
Well, I would probably pay down some higher interest private money that I'm borrowing.
That's right. If you have any private loans out there that, a lot of people would be happy to do one of these free and clear deals, pay 10% on a small private money first, and get this large own and carry back second at 0.88%. So what happens when you collect $166,000 to reinvest? Well, you can pay off those other private money first. One advantage is it actually frees up that private money so that private investor can reinvest with you on another deal. It's going to free up equity in that property, and it's going to eliminate that private lender payment on that property. Okay, so if you wanted to take that $166,000 and pay off 10% notes, you're going to, after on these new notes that you give the seller, remember they're getting $800 a month. So they would still get their $800 a month. But we would actually get an extra $590 every month by paying off these other notes. So after paying the seller their $800, now we have an extra $590 every month. And that's for the next 72 months. So when you add that up, we're getting a total extra income of $42,400. Now remember, our target profit was $50,000 on a 3-year deal. And by moving the seller's note, we're actually going to create bonus profits. So people are worried about selling early. Well, if the seller took the discounted payoff and we're all done with that deal, we made $50,000. But if the seller moved the note, we're actually going to make another $18,600. So our actual profit over a 3-year, on a 3-year deal that is that we sold is over $68,000.
And so that savings comes from, just to recap that, and that comes from replacing 10% private money loans with the cheap 0.88% type loan that we're getting from the seller. So because we're doing that, we're saving that extra $590 a month in payments that we would have been paying to the private lender.
Actually, it's the $590 plus the $800 to the seller. So
Oh,
the $590 is the extra money that we would generate on those other properties by paying off those notes.
Gotcha.
That's just that's extra income.
Okay.
Okay, so that's the return. So if you add the 590 and the 800, that would be your return on the 166,000 at 10%.
Excellent.
So that's just, yeah, that's the extra return we get, and that's what creates the bonus profits of $18,600. So that's to recap that. We take the $166,800. We use it to pay off 10% debt. That frees up $166,800 in equity, where now we have a place to move the seller's note to if we didn't already have that. Now, one of the great things about moving a seller's note is you can actually leverage the property up to 100%.
Sure.
And turn debt equity into 0.88% cash loan.
Right. Yeah.
Because it's like borrowing cash at 0.88%, turning your debt equity in another property. Now, remember, we over-borrowed when we bought the property, right? So the seller's loan-to-value is above 100%. So we can, when we move their note, we're not going to exceed 100%. So they're actually in a better equity position.
Right.
So we got the $590 a month extra income per month after the seller payment. We have that bonus profit of $18,600. So now our profit went up from $50,000 to $68,600. Now, what if you paid off 9% money instead of 10% money? In that case, you would have an extra $450 a month, and your bonus profit would be $8,600.
I like the first one better.
Well, I'm sure there's some investors out there that might be paying 11, 12, 15% on some notes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And by the way, if you have enough equity in other properties and you have other loans, maybe some credit cards or any other type of loans, that go ahead and pay off the highest interest rate debt that you're paying on. Okay? And so that eliminates the interest expense on that. It eliminates the monthly payment on that. It improves your balance sheet. And as long as you have enough equity to move the seller's note to on other properties, you don't have to pay off, existing real estate notes if you have other debt that you would like to pay off, and
right.
that is at a higher interest rate. All right. So, what if you sell early? You're either going to discount the note and make your target profit, or you're going to move the note and reinvest it by paying off debt. And again, if you had enough equity in other properties, you could actually use that cash any way you want to get a high rate of return. 9, 10, 12%. We know how to make 12% on our money. You can certainly, there's all kinds of ways to get a high rate of return. But if you're doing new deals and you're paying private investors 8, 9, 10, 11, 12% to do these free and clear deals, you could actually take some of that cash and become your own private investor on your next deal. So you could be, you can buy it. You would normally, let's say you bought another deal like this where you needed $44,000, okay? You could bring in the $44,000 with your private lender hat and pay yourself whatever you're going to pay on that deal.
Right.
Okay, so you can actually fund your own deals as your own lender. So, and if anybody needs to find a place, to get 9 or 10% return on your money, just call me. I can do that for you.
Sure.
All right. So, to kind of wrap this thing up, before we kind of cover some of the questions you might have, Courtney, or any questions that people have submitted. I know we don't have a lot of people on live. Most of the people listen to the replays. But if anybody has any questions on what we just covered, go ahead and type it in and send it in, and we'll cover those. I do recommend that you review the previous sessions 1 and 2. This is session 3, and then join us for the future sessions. We're going to be doing a series of this throughout, at least through the end of August. And if you need support, go ahead and call your partner. So this is basically, this call is for my JV partners, but we are going to share this with others. So if you're my partner, if you need any help, just get on my schedule, call me. I'm your partner. I'm here to help you close deals. You also have you can also call your coach if you're in our coaching program, or any of the coaching captains. And if you're not a coaching member or JV partner, you can also call our program advisor. That would be Dina. Her number is 1-800-557-3171, and her email is dina@richardroop.com. And she is there to support you if you're not in one of our support programs. She's there to support you, answer a few questions, and maybe point you to some of the free resources or the programs that we offer that might help you out. Isn't that right, Courtney?
Yes, and she's excellent at it.
And she's awesome. She's wonderful. She's very concerned about helping you achieve whatever you're trying to achieve. And most people, that is, how do I make more money without working a job, 50, 60 hours a week?
Right.
All right. Thank you so much, Courtney.
Always a pleasure.
For what you've done to help me out here, as well as all the other help that you provide me and the clients.
It's my pleasure.
All righty. And thanks, everybody, for joining us. Thanks for the questions. I love questions. And if you have any questions you would like to have covered in any of these sessions, feel free to send them to feedback@richardroop.com, and I'll put it on the schedule.
Thanks, everyone.
All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.